Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Throne of Steel episode number 168 based on novel. So let's start. Against her expectations, Lin Chen's Saint Sun curse was just too powerful, to the extent that McDull would only be able to resist 2 rounds before suffering a painful defeat. This forced Chen Yinga to change her incantation to call out the Ice Dragon to battle in the shortest time, adapting her tactics to Lin Chen's great power. Otherwise, with Lin Chen's follow-up attack, she was afraid to be unable even to complete her next incantation. As the Saint Spiritual Girl, Chen Yinga needed a far shorter time for her incantations than ordinary people, requiring only about 3 seconds to chant a packed beast summon, which is how she managed to call out this Ice Dragon so fast. In over 4 years of seclusion, Chen Yinga gained a lot of understanding regarding summons, but did not perform any more spirit bestowals other than the 6 heart dragons. That's because she sensed that spirit bestowal showed even greater effects with McDull and her packed beast, causing a lot of fantastic variation. The Ice Dragon howled upon appearance, spreading out both its wings to protect Chen Yinga behind its back while releasing an icy blue breath at Lin Chen. Lin Chen's face fell. Naturally, he didn't believe that defeating McDull would achieve victory against Chen Yinga, as this young girl showed her ability as a spirit master of the 9th step in the previous match, very capable in summoning magical beasts, her previous creature summoning gate having caused the surge of myriads of beasts, making it very hard to resist. This was also why he utilized Sacred Sun Curse right off the bat, because he couldn't let Chen Yinga unleash her might to make use of her summoning magic to the greatest extent. The gold-red dragon head was still growing out from the Saint Sun, when it finished gathering its power and released another gold-red breath with the same thickness, passing through the vast sky instantly to shoot straight at the Ice Dragon. The gap of strength between the Ice Dragon and Saint Sun was visible to everyone inside the hot stadium. Only the areas surrounding Chen Yinga and the Ice Dragon were not affected by the heat dispersed by the Saint Sun Fire Dragon, which caused all the areas to feel boiling hot. Without a doubt, the Saint Sun Fire Dragon was much stronger, and furthermore, Lin Chen's incantation was still ongoing. No one knew what would be the next move for him to combine with Saint Sun Curse, but everyone predicted that it would in no way be weak. The battle having come to this stage, Chen Yinga was in an extremely disadvantageous position. God Descent, Myriad Beast Rank Rise. Chen Yinga had a tenacious look. Don't underestimate her for ordinarily being very playful. As a matter of fact, Yinga's a very competitive person. Yang Wenjiao having washed out, she would by no means permit herself to get eliminated like that. Chen Yinga's body suddenly produced milky white drizzles, and immediately, a great illusory image lifted itself off her back. That silhouette seemed to be human-shaped, but the instant it appeared, the whole stadium started reverberating with astonishing sounds of beasts' roars. What a spectacular scene! Even just these sounds caused Lin Chen's body to sway, and affected the Saint Sun Dragon as well. 2 drizzling radiances were emitted from Chen Yinga's body, one of which landed on the distant McDull, who was resisting the Saint Sun flames, and the other one on the Ice Dragon right in front of her. Immediately, fantastic scenes surged out. What came to sight first was this gigantic Ice Dragon in front of Chen Yinga. It instantly swelled, her ice blue attack turning entirely white. A drizzling white ice fog covered a half of the stadium in the blink of an eye, the Ice Dragon suddenly shooting up to a length of over 30 meters. Its breath forcibly stopped the Saint Sun Dragon's flames, ice and gold-red interweaving and causing a disruption. This was already the appearance of an adult Ice Dragon. The powerhouses in the spiritual temple were all dumbstruck at this scene. As far as they remembered, there had never been a summoning spell enabling instantly raising an infant magical beast to adulthood, causing it to rise to its adult strength. On the other side, McDull, who received the boost from the white glow released by Chen Yinga, also sustained massive changes. His body abruptly inflated by close to twice, turning into a gigantic black dragon over 30 meters long, letting out low roars while releasing its dark purple-colored darkness spiritual energy which corroded the Saint Sun flame at great speed. Shockingly, McDull let out another long cry, its black body rapidly turning white. Numerous changes continued to appear until it transformed instantly into an adult Ice Dragon, flapping its both wings to fly toward Chen Yinga, and released a breath toward the distant Lin Chen. This is shapeshift? The summoners all watched the battle before their eyes dumbstruck. Even the most experienced summoners were in deep shock. Chen Yinga's summoning magics were something they had never seen or heard about before. What were those abilities? The appearance of a second Ice Dragon caused Lin Chen's look to change greatly. Facing one adult Ice Dragon was already very tough, so with this second one here, his Saint Sunfire would hardly keep its advantage. Chen Yinga kept the same complexion as she kept chanting. Without the boost from her Saint Spiritual dress, Her magic force was limited, but never forget that she's the first spiritual saint daughter to have ever appeared in the past several thousand years in the spiritual temple. The huge figure on her back was the god's descent of the beast god. After over 4 years of deep meditation, Chen Yinga came to choose her own path, just like Lin Xin went for the path simplifying complex magic and Sima Xian went for a berserk fighting style. Her path was a perfect integration of the beast god's abilities. Those 2 white glows were from her domain, which was created from fusing her spiritual bestowal and god's descent, the beast god domain. The beast god domain's power lay in its powerful single-target effects at a large range. Its only effect was amplification, taking effect on Chen Yinga's summons. The juvenile ice dragon having transformed into an adult ice dragon upon getting the mythological beast domain's boost, and McDull having also gotten his strength boosted significantly. Aimed on a larger scale, the individual boost would get smaller as the number of targets increased. Should be my turn. Chen Yinga declared secretly, her incantation coming to a sudden stop as she spread her hands up and directed them to the sky. Immediately, the immense figure on her back shattered, turning into countless lustering dots of light heading for Chen Yinga's 2 ice dragons and merging into their bodies. God's descent transient power, domain. Chen Yinga made a cute shout, causing an unforgotten sight to appear. The 2 ice dragons raised their heads, their eyes turning instantly into an ice blue color. Immediately, the interior of the whole stadium turned the same color, that extreme ice going as far as to even suppress the multicolored barrier outside the stadium, causing crackling sounds on it. Lin Chen's next magic was just done being prepared, but he found out shockingly that the temperature of his saint sun was actually plummeting, as the magic was forcibly broken off. A piercing chilliness assailed him immediately, freezing him as still as an ice sculpture. Li Xingji's look immediately sharpened, shooting a sharp glance and firmly holding the armrests, as his tone went much higher than ordinarily. Dual domains. The phenomenon of dual domains could be interpreted in 2 ways, either as a simultaneous launch of 2 domains or as someone wielding 2 different domains at once. But the current situation was visibly the former, as these 2 domains were clearly not coming from Chen Yinga. These were the very same domain belonging to an ice dragon, domain of extreme cold. If that was only one domain of extreme cold, perhaps Lin Chen could have resisted by the means of his Saint Sun curse, but 2 simultaneous domains produced far more power than a sum of 1 plus 1. After all, Lin Chen was not a domain-wielding powerhouse, and his Saint Sun curse was suppressed greatly by his opponent's attribute. His magic being broken through, he ended up sealed in the domains of extreme cold. Chen Yinga had relied on the beast god domain's extreme amplifications to bestow McDull and the ice dragon with domains simultaneously. Although it only lasted for a short time, that was enough against Lin Chen. Without the spiritual Saint Rogue's backing, the use of the beast god domain's providential boost caused Chen Yinga to visibly become pale right afterwards. But standing in this world of ice, she gave off a sacred feel, just like a snow lotus, devoid of any impurity. On the 6th lounge, all the referees coming from Demon Hunt squads poured their spiritual energy into the barrier for the sake of stabilizing it to prevent the dual domains from making effect, but their spiritual energy was depleted at great speed, showing the terror of these united domains' effects. Put that domain away, this match is your victory. Chen Zidian's voice reverberated, while a golden bright and dazzling light spread from the sky, landing onto the iced Lin Chen's body. Chen Yinga ended her show, terminating her boosts. Just like the domain of extreme cold came fast, it disappeared fast, instantly returning the stadium to normal. McDull returned to its little pig shape and hopped into Chen Yinga's arms, her body having turned quite scorched, and the ice dragon, also shrunken down, disappeared in the hexagram under its feet. The auxiliary head of the mage temple, Lin Chen, had lost. At the time the frozen golden pillar of light wrapped around Lin Chen, he returned to his senses, still having chills upon remembering the previous ice. With a light sigh, he shook his head and returned to the direction of the mage temple. Even Li Xingji couldn't really blame anyone, he had done all he could, but the enemy's dual domains were just too powerful. Lin Chen was actually not really convinced, thinking secretly that if he had made his breakthrough 20 years ago to the 9th step, and transformed his sacred sun into a domain, it would not necessarily have lost in front of the dual domain of extreme cold. What a real shame, thinking that Saint Sun Cure could really be developed further if he had the capabilities, he couldn't help but feel a burst of sadness. Chen Yinga didn't have an easy match. After terminating her domain of extreme ice, her body swayed slightly as she strolled out from the stage. The summoners from the spiritual temple were all stupefied by that match. So, it was actually possible for a summoner to use such means. This was the very first domain to accomplish such a feat in the spiritual temple. Even Chen Hongyu's Beast Emperor domain was far from comparing. Chen Yinga used her own strength to prove Sun Shui's previous statement. Indeed, at her level, Sanshui was really in no way her opponent. Bright Glimmer of Hope gradually gained more and more approval from the 6 Great Temple's powerhouses. The one with the deepest impression was Li Xingxi, who originally had believed Long Haochen to be the only really outstanding one in the crew, with at most only Kia being remarkable too. But, from the previous battle, he could see that their other members did not fall behind either. Chen Yinge and Wang Yuanyuan both wielded domains, and greatly powerful ones, causing Xingxi to conclude that even he would undoubtedly need to expend massive resources to beat them. The tournament went on. After this round, only 24 more people were left. The battles were especially spectacular. Chen Yinge and Lin Chen's battles were not the only bright spots. The later matches were brilliant and varied because the contestants were becoming more and more powerful. Domains frequently appeared in the stadium, and the spectacle was the most satisfying to the spectators. How would they witness such great strengths without the temple's great gathering? Amongst Bright Glimmer of Hope, Hanyu lost, Bright Glimmer of Hope having finally exhausted its good luck when he came upon Chen Yinge's grandfather, the head of the spiritual temple Chen Hongyu. In front of the powerful Beast Emperor domain, he still managed to last for over 10 minutes before getting defeated, and his comrade, the demonic Eye Tyrant, also left a very deep impression, being a powerhouse at the peak of the 8th step, blessed with powerful mental suppression and control, even greatly counteracting the effects of the Beast Emperor domain. But, unfortunately, the demonic Eye Tyrant would need to make an extraordinary encounter to possibly be able to evolve further. Zhong Fangfang, Hanyu, Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi all faced the difficulty of having mounts that would hardly evolve to the 9th step. By chance, Zhong Fangfang, Lin Xin, Sima Xian, and Wang Yuanyuan also achieved victory against their opponents, clearing the 3rd round smoothly. Amongst Bright Glimmer of Hope, only Long Haochen and Kia were left to participate, only 4 matches being left in this 3rd round. Right now, the calm look maintained so far on Long Haochen's face had a slight change. It wasn't an impossible thing to be drawn against a teammate in this individual competition, especially when only 8 people remained, so Kia and him had fair odds of clashing against each other. Thinking of this, Long Haochen unconsciously reminisced a scene from the Demon Hunt selection of that time, when Kia chose to give up upon meeting him. Was history going to repeat itself? Thinking back to his past promise to Lin Xin, about how he had forgotten to warn Kia at that time, ultimately ending up hurting her, Long Haochen's gaze became a lot warmer. Lightly holding Kia's hand, he declared, "If we run against each other, I will be the one to concede this time, understood?" Kia had a slight start. "Haochen, you." Long Haochen smiled to her. "In those years, you clearly could beat me, yet chose to give up on the match. Why shouldn't I be allowed to concede this one?" Kia laughed in reaction. "Idiot, don't think about it. Do you even take the circumstances to be the same now compared to the past? At that time, winning or losing did not matter, but this match relates to our future resistance against demonkind. You are Bright Glimmer of Hope's captain, our leader. Oh, looks like our match won't get to take place." During their discussion, the light of selection landed onto Kia as well as Xing Yu, another contestant in the Assassin Temple's area opposite. Seeing Xing Yu's unreconciled look, Long Haochen couldn't help but laugh. "Look, that great-grandfather-in-law wants to have a go against you." Kia let out a low laugh and replied, "It won't happen." As expected, without need for Kia to step down, the opposite Xing Yu had already declared, "I believe there to be no match and give up this match." After saying that, he returned to his seat without even walking away. Who could expect there to be 3 leading figures to already give up, the most simply eliminated being Xing Yu, who actually directly conceded, immediately declaring himself to be no match. This was already the 2nd time the Assassin Temple was confronted with Kia. From Bright Glimmer of Hope 6, only one person had yet to appear on stage. The light of selection only shifted slightly from Kia to Long Haochen, lighting up him and his opponent from the Night Temple. The 2 sides were from the same temple. That was a knight of high seniority, looking quite a bit older than Long Qianying, who stood up slowly and nodded to Long Haochen seated in the last row, his aged voice sounding very firm. "Let this be a showdown between 2 knights." After saying this, he advanced in large strides toward the field. Long Haochen unconsciously looked at his grandfather, Long Qianying, who showed him a helpless smile. Haochen was slightly shocked, as his grandfather's expression was telling him that he had no way to influence this old knight. In fact, the Divine Knight had an almost supreme authority, meaning that this knight going beyond Long Qianying's control surely held a very high position as well. Long Haochen followed this Golden Knight into the stadium before taking the initiative to accelerate while going across the arena from the old knight. This was an etiquette as a junior to a senior. He couldn't just stand here and let the elder do the job of increasing the distance. "I am Yang Haoyu, an elder who doesn't care about all these matters. Since Haohan couldn't come this time, I am thanking you on his behalf for saving and bringing back the only child of our Yang family. Saying that, he performed a knight salute to Long Haochen. Long Haochen finally recognized this elder, that was actually Yang Haohan's brother, and very possibly an elder brother from his looks. No wonder even his grandpa was very polite to him. Hurriedly, he returned the politeness formally. Yang Haoyu's stagnant look remained on Long Haochen. I have heard Haohan mention you long before. You are really outstanding, surpassing your grandfather and father. But you are, after all, still too young. There are no conceding knights in the Night Temple. If you want me to approve you completely, then it's simple, defeat me. Please. Saying that, this old knight shouted loudly and a trail of golden light lit up on his back, dividing into two straight lines and very rapidly moving to either side as a golden cloud of light forced its way between them and engulfed Yang Haoyu, wrapping around his body. That bright golden light spread over his body, instantly forming a golden armor covering his whole body as a pair of heavy swords formed in his hands. An imposing demeanor rose from him, glinting into the surroundings, causing Long Haochen to feel as if he'd been placed in the midst of outer space, with a ferocious beast there among the stars opening its mouth to swallow him. Seeing this scene, Li Zhengzhi abruptly became greatly alarmed, the look on his face changing greatly. That's him. So he actually came. No wonder the Night Temple didn't even send Long Xingyu. Hasn't he been secluded for already close to 50 years? Tan Wan had lost her previous battle, but, because the round was not over, she was still inside the area for candidates from the Mage Temple, and couldn't help but ask curiously in reaction, who is this person, teacher? Could he be even stronger than a divine knight? Li Xingxi ordinarily had a beaming look, which had remained, as usual, even when running against Long Qianying earlier. But for this knight to cause his look to change so greatly, he clearly had some unordinary aspects. Li Zhengzhi's look gradually came back to normal, explaining, in some ways, he's the true #1 powerhouse in the Night Temple. If he had obtained the approval of a divine throne back then, maybe he could have risen as the true commander of the 6 great temples and the Temple Alliance wouldn't be so dispersed either. What? Tan Wan was shocked, having never heard her teacher give such a high evaluation of another person, moreover someone from the Night Temple. Li Zhengzhi had some reservations regarding even Long Haochen, believing him to still be way too young. Li Zhengzhi continued, he is called Yang Haoyu, and is really a legendary character. The head of the Temple Alliance Yang Haoyu is actually his younger brother, but in some sense, Yang Haohan can also be considered his disciple, and you can well imagine from this how strong he is. He's close to 30 years older than Yang Haoyu. Back then, when Yang Haohan first made his name, Yang Haoyu had just joined the Night Temple, possessing an extremely high talent and powerful character, causing Yang Haoyu to be acclaimed as a knight with the bearing of a king. And, he's a Retribution Knight. Reportedly, the Night Temple's only divine Retribution Knight, Long Xingyu, is training using the Retribution Knight records he left. Yang Haoyu never makes use of any offensive equipment, because he has a really extraordinary magical beast called Starry Sky. This kind of magical beast already goes beyond the realm of magical beast, being an existence intrinsically belonging to the 9th step. It is able to transform into any shape, aid Yang Haoyu in his cultivation, and help him absorb heavenly energy from the sun and the moon. In terms of seniority, he is above me, and I don't even know when it was that he had broken through the 9th step, but he accomplished an unprecedented feat. He refused to become a divine knight. What? Tan Wan lost her voice. How could that be? Becoming a divine knight means having at least one divine tool, as well as becoming an auxiliary head of the Night Temple. Lin Jingxi sighed. Of course, Yang Haoyu knew this much, but he is really overly proud. This genius with a starry sky of the 9th step immediately gained approval from a divine throne, and if at that time he had accepted, he would immediately have become a divine knight. But he didn't do so, and chose to issue a request to the greatest, and never before used divine throne of eternity and creation. In the end, the divine throne of eternity and creation rejected him, and he did not choose another divine throne. After being bestowed the title of Starry Sky Holy Knight, he started to undergo a long time of seclusion, and, reportedly, he attempted to gain once again the approval from the divine throne of eternity and creation, but, in the end, he did not succeed. Because his time spent in seclusion was just too long, he has since long disappeared from the watch of the 6 great temples higher-ups. I didn't expect Yang Haohan to have actually invited him to this temple's great gathering. Reaching that point, Li Jingxi's expression became quite desolate. It looks that I was too confident in myself. The Night Temple's trump card. Tan Wan seemed to become unconvinced. Teacher, could it be that you are still unable to defeat him? Li Jingxi shook his head. If I am up against him, My odds of victory are definitely under 50% even without restrictions and the use of equipment being allowed. Have a good look, he will show you the strength of a starry sky divine beast. It is regarded as the #1 divine beast, and Yan Haoyu is the chief elder of the Night Temple. This time, Long Haochen should get taught a deep lesson, but that's good as well. He's too young, and to a youngster, getting defeated is sometimes the best lesson one can have. If Long Haochen could hear Li Jingqi's words, he would surely be left with a deep impression, because he formerly suffered a blow of the most massive kind, costing him his own life. Now that he was living a second life, he had long since become entirely transparent, as peaceful as water. Long Haochen did not know that Yan Haoyu had such a glorious history. Looking at the armor and weapon on him, he couldn't help but feel startled, though his gaze very rapidly returned to normal, a golden hexagon having appeared around him. Despite not knowing about Yan Haoyu's glory, he could sense a massive threat from him, and didn't feel confident in being able to defeat this powerful knight. The hexagonal light in front of Long Haochen was mild, glinting in golden color and slowly tracing lines of multicolored halos. Multicolored light symbolized a special realm, an existence equivalent in some ways to divine tools. Immediately, a tall figure appeared in front of Long Haochen, measuring over 4 meters and over 2 meters tall. It had a pair of massive wings spreading out from his 2 sides, and was entirely lustrous gold-colored. The soul horn atop its head was colored in the 7 colors of the rainbow, and the instant it appeared, a light essence gushed out throughout the whole stadium, making visible the multicolored light spiraling around its body. The dots of starlight that had originally appeared in the air were dispelled in the scope of this multicolored halation. Divine Unicorn? Yan Haoyu was shocked upon looking at the magical beast standing in front of Long Haochen. In legends, some magical beasts were known as the optimum mounts for knights, and knights possessing such mounts were given a special name. First, the #1 ranked were divine gigantic dragon riding knights, followed by divine unicorn riding knights, followed by all the types of dragon riding knights. Divine unicorns were ranked #2 for the massive boosts and glory they gave to a knight. Yan Haoyu was named Starry Sky Holy Knight because of his mount too, but a Starry Sky Divine Beast was not even written down in any ancient records, so it did not appear in the original ranking of the mount titles of knights. Because of its great power, it was added onto the ranking afterwards, but Long Haochen's Divine Unicorn was the true second rank being in the rankings. Long Haochen's figure flashed to sit on the Divine Unicorn's back. Immediately, the latter dispersed a multicolored halation, rendering his body multicolored, as well as causing Long Haochen's figure to look blurry. There used to be a legend in ancient times that girls had as an ideal for a lover someone who could step through multicolored clouds, clad in golden saint armor. Those so-called multicolored clouds pointed at divine unicorns. As for the golden saint armor, the current humankind did not know what it was, but in some manner, a divine throne could definitely be regarded as such. Isn't that so? A divine unicorn had already not appeared for many years, having vanished from Shengmo Dalu long ago. No one imagined that Long Haochen would actually summon such a mount to aid him in battle. Being disallowed from using equipment did not mean mounts boosts were forbidden. After a short time of surprise, Yan Haoyu's look very rapidly returned to normal, but he did not immediately rush to the assault, but spoke toward the lounge of the Night Temple. Chief Referee, I have a request. Because of my magical beast, I have no use for weapons, so my ability is unrelated to weaponry. So I will be clearly advantaged after summoning my comrade. Therefore, please especially permit Long Haochen to use any of his other equipment in this battle. These words immediately shocked everyone present. Despite being fully aware that Long Haochen had summoned a divine unicorn, ranked #2 among knight mounts, Yan Haoyu unexpectedly still requested to permit him the use of other equipment. Was this out of pride? He visibly viewed Long Haochen to be far from being his own opponent. On the side of the Night Temple's resting area for contestants, all bright glimmer of hope had grotesque looks upon hearing Yan Haoyu's words. Lin Xin couldn't help but remark, isn't this old knight overly self-confident? Could it be that he didn't see boss like God domain? Long Jianying swept him with a glance and declared lightly, youngsters being self-confident is a good thing, but they mustn't become blindly arrogant. Haochen is outstanding, but I am not optimistic in his victory. You should all know that as early as 50 years ago, Brother Yang was known as the Starry Sky Holy Knight, whose fame matched with Chen Zidian, and, although he was not a divine knight, he was still the #1 powerhouse of the Night Temple. If not for the utter importance of this temple's great gathering, we wouldn't have requested Brother Yang to step into the fights. Haochen's father, my son Long Xingyu, is only at most a follower learning from the records Brother Yang left behind. Hearing Long Jianying say this much, all bright glimmer of hope's member felt that Long Haochen was facing a really powerful existence. A divine knight was only a follower using the records he left behind, and an even stronger existence than the legendary Chen Zidian. What's with boss luck? Long Jianying calmly declared, I have no qualms telling you now that even though I am not sure of whether Li Xingxi managed to break through successfully, there is only one person who managed to break through the 4th rank of the 9th step prior to Li Xingxi, and that person is this Starry Sky Holy Knight. Hearing that, all Bright Glimmer of Hope's members couldn't help but feel shocked. All of them aside from Du and Yi and Yang Wenjiao had reached the 9th step, but came to deeply understand how hard cultivation gets upon reaching this realm. Almost every 100 spiritual energy would come with its own bottleneck, so what could it mean to have broken through the 4th rank of the 9th step? It meant that Yang Haoyu's internal spiritual energy surpassed 400,000. And they all knew about Long Haochen's current cultivation, 2nd rank of the 9th step, and stopped at the bottleneck to the 3rd rank. But having the Heart of Eternity gave him an extra 90,000 spiritual energy, causing his internal spiritual energy to already be over 290,000. However, he was still only at the peak of the 2nd rank, having yet to get to the 3rd rank, while Yang Haoyu already reached the 5th rank's realm. At the 9th step, every rank had enormous gaps, affecting a lot of variables. One could say that every rank to break through upon reaching the 9th step would require expending great efforts which are no easier than the initial breakthrough to the 9th step. But, after a short time of shock, the group very rapidly calmed down, sitting upright and watching in the direction of the stadium. Long Qianying found out with shock that these youngsters all looked confident and resolved. For them to remain so confident despite knowing about Yang Haoyu's strength meant that they all held a sort of faith toward Long Haochen deep in their hearts. And this faith gave them an absolute certainty on Long Haochen's victory. Since you say so, Long Haochen is specially allowed to make use of equipment. Chen Zidian replied very rapidly, unexpectedly agreeing in a premise that the overwhelming majority of the spectators believed that this chief referee would not possibly accept. Some slightly younger higher-ups from the 6th Great Temple felt incomprehension. The Great Temple's gathering promoted fairness at the top, but could it be called fair for the other contestants to permit the use of equipment to Long Haochen? But the older veterans watched Yang Haoyu attentively. Even those who hadn't met this legendary Starry Sky Holy Knight before had all heard about his story before. Long Haochen had already won against Qiu Yonghao, becoming the representative individual of the younger generation. In this match, the issue of the final victor did not even matter anymore. More importantly, all those people involved by the Mage Temple had great changes of heart. For the Night Temple to have a powerhouse such as the Starry Sky Holy Knight, and moreover a great pride such as Long Haochen in this younger generation, could the Mage Temple really take over their rule? People with eyes to see all knew the answer to that question. Li Xingxi was certainly outstanding, and he had especially prepared his plans for this temple's great gathering for a long time, but he had already lost, outdone by the previous head of the Temple Alliance Yang Haoyu, the true victor in this battle of intrigue. After Yang Haoyu gained Chen Zidian's approval, he nodded to Long Haochen, all right, you can use your equipment now. Thanks a lot, senior. Long Haochen nodded to him and bowed forward, the gold foundation armor appearing under his feet. That armor glistening in orange color instantly covered his upper body. When he leapt back on the divine unicorn's back, he had a heavy sword in each of his hands. The heavy sword on his left hand glistened in white, and the heavy sword in his right hand shone in gold red, carrying a multicolored brilliance. These were Blue Rain, Hibiscus of Light, as well as the aria of the Goddess of Light. Looking at the fully equipped Long Haochen, Yang Haoyu unwittingly now had an appreciative look, admiring Long Haochen's steadiness. Another youngster of Long Haochen's age with such accomplishments would surely have a proud mindset. Yang Haoyu giving him a special permission to use his equipment in this match was undoubtedly a form of contempt. But right after obtaining the chief referee Chen Zidian's permission, he chose to take out his equipment with neither arrogance nor impatience. His look remained just as calm, with no changes in his emotional aspect. This steadiness was already far beyond other people of this age. Please, give me your guidance, senior. Long Haochen lightly knocked the aria of the Goddess of Light on his left shoulder, indicating his preparedness to Yang Haoyu. Yang Haoyu nodded lightly, inclining the heavy swords in his hands. Let's start then. With this call, the bodies of the two glinted brilliantly. A dense golden light extended all around Long Haochen's body, accompanied with shrill sounds which flooded the whole stadium toward Qiu Yonghao's direction. But Yang Haoyu's body liberated a similar resplendent golden luster, though it seemed to emerge in the midst of a night sky unlike Long Haochen's. With Yang Haoyu's body as center, a wide expanse of surrounding air turned into stars, just as if he was standing in the midst of a starry sky. In this starry sky, countless golden dots of light brought fantastic fluctuations of spiritual energy, clashing against Long Haochen's light god domain. The domains of the two parties stretched forward with power as the distance between the two of them increased. On one side was a vast and pure expanse of gold, and on the other side was a mysterious and boundless starry sky. After the two great domains appeared, they contrasted each other on every point. Yang Haoyu spoke insipidly, "Your light god domain is established on the basis of your affinity and comprehension of light as a god's chosen one. My light originates from the starry sky, which is not from this world and is not subject to the control of this world's god of light. So, you cannot strip my light. These are my stars, take the blow of my star power." Saying that, Yang Haoyu remained motionless, lifting the heavy sword in his right hand and pointing it toward Long Haochen. Immediately, myriads of starry lights shot out from his domain, gathering into a sharp projectile while turning into perfectly straight golden light, bombarding Long Haochen's direction. The use of the star's power was Yang Haoyu's self-created star's law. This starlight looked very gentle, but after entering Long Haochen's domain, it seemed not to be affected in the slightest as it instantly reached out in front of Long Haochen. Long Haochen didn't respond to the attack with another attack. His huge wings spread out simultaneously as blue rain, hibiscus of light in his left hand disappeared, replaced with a compact multicolored shield held in front of him. The instant that starlight landed onto the divine snail shield, it immediately issued metallic kinds of sounds. Long Haochen was making use of divine obstruction, but felt right now as if a planet was ramming against his body. Instantly, the multicolored golden light on the divine snail shield enlarged, and in the meantime, a bright light pulsed on Long Haochen's chest, the heart of eternity. In the previous battle against Qiu Yonghao, Long Haochen had relied on the heart of eternity to repel the enemy with a single fist. Every time the heart of eternity would pulse, his spiritual energy would get refilled at rapid speed, and the multicolored golden light on the divine snail shield would grow in intensity. The light god domain turned into circles of golden halos, binding around Long Haochen's body, as the space in the stadium seemed to sink deeply. On the lounge, the chief referee Chen Zidian was in a standstill. Under his lead, all the referees were pouring with all their spiritual energy into the barrier to maintain its stability. When the starlight gradually weakened, Long Haochen's body was pressed up against the barrier. What a powerful blow! To resist this starlight, Long Haochen had to put forth almost all his strength. He really did not expect Yang Haoyu's strength to actually reach such a level. Perhaps he could still not compare with the demon god emperor, but his cultivation was definitely at the grade of the moon demon god and star demon god. Yang Haoyu had a faint smile. "Interesting, and you are not at full strength yet. Let me see where your limits lie." Myriads of starlight rose up in his star domain, and his dual swords were lifted, tracing abstruse arcs in midair, to finally turn these myriads of starlight into 9 points which rotated in the air together as one, a perfect pure white starlight attack aimed against Long Haochen. The instant this pure white starlight entered inside the light god domain, it immediately caused intense undulations in Long Haochen's domain, as if ripping his light god domain apart. This strike gathered the might of heaven and earth. Long Haochen's face was extremely stern, and the divine unicorn underneath him issued a shrill, causing a mystical multicolored light to gather onto its horn, spreading outwards. But Long Haochen did not keep using his shield like before, shutting his eyes as the heart of eternity on his chest clearly gained in intensity. Having gained the boost from divine unicorn, Long Haochen's whole body was permeated with the 7 colors of the rainbow. A phenomenon suddenly affected the fluctuations of the light god domain, and they suddenly intensified. Its bright light dispersed, instantly being reduced to 10 meters of range around his body, pulsing to the rhythm of the beating heart of eternity. It appeared just as though the whole light god domain had become an extension of the heart of eternity. Meanwhile, the retractation of Long Haochen's light god domain caused the scale of the star domain in the stadium to increase. From the looks of it, Long Haochen seemed depressed to the extreme. But upon contact with that retracting domain of the light god, that pure white starlight unexpectedly came to a stop. Only a bit of it made it through, but stagnated alongside the pulse of the light god domain. At every pulse of the light god domain, that pure white holy light weakened gradually. The white stars gradually dispersed, turning golden and dulling with time, before finally turning into infinitely small starry dots. Long Haochen opened his eyes that instant, executing a hacking motion with the aria of the goddess of light in the right hand. "Please take my blow, senior." The aria of the goddess of light turned into a brilliant gold color, and the retracted light god domain gathered into a wheel of light, launched slowly forward alongside a golden light projection from Long Haochen's blade. The previous starlight attack that Yang Haoyu launched was dispersed at once, and after that golden light projection routed the starlight attack, kept flying forward, changing colors in the process to gradually turn white. Even more mysteriously, that bright blade projection issued sweet sounds everywhere it passed, giving off an auspicious and peaceful feeling of calm. Behind that blade projection of light appeared two pure white wings. Young Haoyu had a grave look for the first time. Lifting the heavy sword in his right arm, the starlights inside the starry universe all lit up at once. That white blade projection entered the star domain right after exiting the light god domain, not obstructed in the slightest wherever it passed. When the nearest stars landed onto the white blade projection, a bizarre scene took place. That white projection slowed down once again, but its volume became twice larger, shattering those stars. This was the first time for Yang Haoyu to encounter such a situation. Lifting the heavy sword in his right hand, he swept it through the empty air, gathering myriads of starlights into a huge blade projection aimed at Long Haochen's projection, looking as light and unhindered as a feather. The two blade projections of entirely contrasting size clashed. On the surface, Long Haochen's blade looked like it should suffer an immediate loss, but this contact immediately caused a state of stickiness between the blades. The two light blades stopped simultaneously in midair, and starlight slowly went up to curl up on the immense blade formed, causing Long Haochen's little blade projection to slowly get expelled under its suppression. But in the process of this expulsion, the little light blade enlarged gradually, while the large light blade gradually shrank. The smaller light blade was also repelled at gradually slower speed. "Disperse, break!" Yang Haoyu shouted loudly, waving the sword in his hands simultaneously. With a large bang, the star domain shivered greatly, as the starlight blade he had launched smashed into pieces at once, transforming into countless stars shooting out and finally destroying Long Haochen's blade projection in an intense explosion, turning into countless surges of white light. But they didn't disperse, quietly flying back instead, to merge back into Long Haochen's light god domain. An intense heartbeat's pulse reverberated through the whole stage, as, the instant this white light returned, the light god domain launched another counterattack against the star domain, forcing it back to the previous state of stalemate. Each party now took half of the sky as before. This video will end here.